It started with a headline, one that stung more than it informed. Can they even compete? Filipino debaters mocked for funny accents ahead of global finals. The article exploded online, spreading across every Filipino's feed. The comments were brutal, broken English, sing-songy, not to be taken seriously. The team had mastered English, won national titles, and earned their place on the world stage. But suddenly, their ideas didn't matter. Only their accents did. The pressure was immense. They weren't just debating for a trophy anymore. They were fighting for respect. This was no longer just a debate. It was a battle for dignity. The fight had just begun. The pre-debate hall was colder than the London air outside. Team Philippines sat isolated, surrounded by dismissive glances and whispered judgments. No one stared directly, but the verdict was clear. They didn't belong. The British team walked past, exuding effortless superiority. The message was unspoken. You are not on our level. Every cough, every whisper felt like a critique. Their intelligence was being measured by their accents, not their arguments. Their coach urged them to focus, but the atmosphere was suffocating. The fear wasn't about forgetting lines. It was about their voices shaking, about proving the headlines right. The psychological battle began before the debate did. Whispers from nearby tables, the viral team, should be an easy win, cut through their concentration. The judges' cold neutrality felt like skepticism. They felt small, far from home, about to face a room that had already written them off. The bell for the debate was about to ring, sounding more like a warning than an invitation. In that moment, they realized this was more than a competition. It was a test of resilience. They had to prove they belonged, not just to the judges, but to themselves. The silence was heavy, but it was also a challenge. And they were ready to answer it. Meet Gian, the lead researcher from Batangas. His English precise, his accent shaped by the sea he's fighting to save. Maya, the storyteller from Tacloban, survived Typhoon Haiyan. Her voice carries the rhythm of memory and loss. Luis, the anchor from Manila, blends American slang and formal English, a style sometimes mocked but always authentic. Each brought a unique strength, Gian's logic, Maya's emotion, Luis's fire. But each carried a fear that their accent would overshadow their message. Gian worried he'd sound uneducated. Maya feared her passion would be dismissed as annoying. Luis thought his casual style would be seen as unprofessional. Together, they were more than their insecurities. They were a team forged by adversity. Their greatest strengths, their voices and experiences were being framed as weaknesses, but they knew to win, they had to turn that narrative around. Not just for themselves, but for everyone who'd ever been told their voice wasn't good enough. The world would hear them, not in spite of their accents, but because of them. And that would be their power. The night before the debate, doubt and anger filled their hotel room. Gian stared at data, Maya scrolled through hate, Luis paced, muttering rebuttals. Their coach, Ms. Reyes, shut her laptop. You'll win by being you. They think your accents are your weakness. Tonight, make them your weapon. That was the turning point. No longer just individuals, they became a united front, ready to be heard. Tomorrow, they would speak for everyone who'd ever been silenced. The debate hall was intimidating. Old wood, stern portraits, a room built to make outsiders feel small. The audience, mostly British and European, watched with polite skepticism. The rules were strict, the format favoring a detached, rapid-fire style. The British champions were greeted with thunderous applause, Team Philippines with hesitant claps. The contrast was stark. The judges' faces were unreadable, their pens poised before a word was spoken. The topic: should developing nations bear the primary financial burden for climate change adaptation? For the British team, it was a comfortable, academic argument. For Team Philippines, it was personal, a direct challenge to their reality. The stage was set for more than a debate. It was a clash of worlds. The environment screamed tradition and bias. But Team Philippines stood tall, ready to challenge not just the motion, but the assumptions behind it. They weren't just defending a position, they were defending their right to be heard. The room was waiting for them to fail, but they were ready to change the narrative. The British team opened, polished, confident, detached. Their arguments were clinical, their delivery flawless. The audience nodded along, captivated by their performance. Then, Jian stepped up, his accent distinct. Snickers broke out, a cruel echo of the viral mockery. Jian faltered, hurt flashing in his eyes. For a moment, it seemed the headlines would be proven right. But Jian looked up, found the source of the laughter, and steadied himself. You might laugh at my accent, but you cannot laugh at the rising sea. You cannot laugh at the dying coral reefs that fed my grandfather. The room fell silent. It was no longer about pronunciation. It was about truth. Jian turned mockery into accusation, shifting the power in the room. The judges stopped scribbling. The audience listened. The British team's smugness faded. Jian's stand was a turning point. He refused to be defined by ridicule. He forced the room to confront the reality behind the accent. The debate was no longer theoretical. It was personal, urgent, and real. The game had changed. Team Philippines was no longer the punchline. They were the conscience of the room, and the world was finally listening. The battle lines had been redrawn. Maya followed, not as a debater, but as a witness. I was 14 when Typhoon Haiyan hit. The wind sounded like a monster. We didn't have time to allocate resources. We had time to run. Her voice, once mocked, now carried the weight of survival. She spoke of loss, of searching for loved ones in the rubble. How do you put a price on a mother searching for her child? What's the budget for rebuilding a soul? The room was still. The British team looked uncomfortable. Maya's story made the debate real, no longer about numbers, but about lives. The judges listened, pens down. Then Luis took the stage, eyes blazing. Your argument isn't just flawed, it's a violent injustice. You talk about responsibility from the comfort of a nation built on the fossil fuels drowning my country. He dismantled their case, using their privilege against them. This isn't about money, it's about morality. His words struck at the heart of the debate. Team Philippines reframed the argument. They made the room feel the human cost. The British team's logic now seemed hollow. The debate was no longer about theory. It was about truth, and Team Philippines owned it. The room transformed. Skepticism replaced by rapt attention. The audience leaned in, the smirks gone, the silence heavy with realization. Team Philippines' message was undeniable. The judges' faces softened, their notes now capturing substance, not just style. The rival team was rattled. Their final rebuttal fell flat. Economic models sounded empty against stories of survival. The audience's applause for the British team was muted. Team Philippines had reframed the debate. They forced the privilege to confront uncomfortable truths. The laughter that greeted Jian was now a distant, shameful memory. The room had been humbled. Team Philippines had done more than win points. They'd changed minds. The debate was no longer about accents. It was about courage, truth, and the power of authenticity. And the world would not forget it. Team Philippines had won. The applause was thunderous, a roar of respect. The team embraced, tears streaming. Their victory was more than a trophy, it was a statement. They proved your voice is not a weakness, it's your power. The message echoed far beyond London. Intelligence has no accent. Leadership comes in every dialect. Team Philippines didn't just win a debate, they won a battle for respect.